When I first bought my 150-acre ranch just outside town, I was looking for peace, space, and a break from the noise. The land had been in my family for generations, but after years of neglect, I'd finally returned to restore it to its former glory. That didn't sit well with the neighboring HOA, who had grown used to thinking they ran everything within a 5-mile radius. Within a week of starting my renovations, I received a formal letter from the HOA president, Karen, demanding I comply with community standards, including painting my barn a neutral beige, limiting my livestock, and removing my vintage windmill. I laughed. I wasn't even part of their HOA. Then came the visits. First, a couple of clipboard-toting board members came by uninvited, offering me a generous offer to buy the land at about half its market value. I politely declined. A few days later, Karen herself marched onto my property during my fencing project and told me flat out, "This area is part of the HOA's aesthetic zone, and your ranch is an eyesore. We'll make it easier for you. Sell it to us before things get messy." I told her she was trespassing. She scoffed and said, "You'll hear from our lawyers." And I did. A week later, a cease and desist letter arrived accusing me of violating HOA covenants. It was laughable. My property wasn't in their jurisdiction. But instead of getting angry, I got curious. I started digging into the county records, and that's when I made a discovery that flipped the script. Years ago, my late grandfather had invested in a series of land parcels that were later developed into what is now the HOA's neighborhood. He never sold the mineral or land rights, only leased the surface use to developers for 99 years. And guess who inherited that ownership? Me. I now legally owned the land underneath their precious community, and every square inch they pranced on was still technically mine. So I sent them a letter, this time from my attorney, informing them that I would be increasing the lease fees per parcel effective immediately. Failure to comply would trigger eviction proceedings under the original contracts. Karen came storming back, this time with a much different tone. Gone was the arrogance. Now she begged for negotiation. But I'd had enough. I reminded her this all started because she wanted my ranch. Instead, she nearly lost her own home. Moral of the story? Don't mess with a rancher who owns more than fences. Sometimes he owns the ground you walk on.